Welcome to Live, Let, Thrive, a podcast about the Airbnb life, the share economy, and everything in between. Here are your hosts, Myka and Steve.
Hello.
And welcome back to another exciting episode
of Live,
Let, Thrive.
What's up, Myka, man?
I am good, man. I'm good to be in our second live studio, man. What is up, Stevie Stacks?
Oh, man, this reminds me of the old days back in my my little house in Hearst, man, when you came over. Yeah, but folks listening right now don't want to hear all that. Well, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But this is episode 255 of your favorite Airbnb, VRBO, short-term, midterm, long-term rental podcast in the world, coming at you from Irving, Texas.
Irving, Texas, man. And we have a live audience. So, man, what's been
cheer, come on. Yeah, we added that post-production. So yeah, we got this blank wall behind us. So anybody out there good with Canva can throw something behind it. That'd be cool. Well, excited to talk some shop today, man. There's a lot of new things, new developments in the world of short-term rentals, Airbnb,
Hospitable, Dallas, a lot of stuff's going on, man.
Plano, that's where you're at.
Oh man, Plano's going crazy. Dallas is going crazy. Hospitable. What's up with Hospitable?
What's up with Hospitable? Well, they're giving you direct booking capabilities, right?
Let's go.
So, and the main thing, which Fede, which he's here in the audience today, told me the best part of it is they'll be the merchant on file. That's what you said, right?
Yep.
See, I can remember a few things. So that gives you the protections just like Airbnb does or a VRBO or whoever the hell, as opposed to getting burned 4 times like Mike Brown got burned 4 times on the what do they call it? Chargebacks.
Oh,
so
chargeback protection.
I never stayed there, even though Mike Brown had all the information and their pictures and kept their dog. He had all kinds of stuff, but they still Chase Bank denied him. You know,
Chase Bank, man. I'm getting away from them anyway. But no, I just had to do that literally last week. I had a guest tried to leave it out early and they asked for a refund and I gave them a refund. They left early because the tornadoes were going on. And so like last week, he comes back and says he wasn't there at all. I'm like, what are you talking about, right? So they come back and say, hey, they sent me an email. Stripe did. They're like, hey, can you verify that this guest stayed with you? So I sent them all the documentation. I sent them this dude's text messages. I sent them this dude's VRBO account, and I sent him the refund receipt. And I even highlighted his American Express card that was refunded. And they were like, oh, okay. Went back to him and said, hey, bro, you were refunded. So you just have to, one of those things I will say is make sure you have all your ducks in a row. Like, especially with you're the merchant on file, just have your ducks in a row. Invoicing, communication. And you guys know me, I don't like communicating outside the app. The only reason we ended up, and it was actually, I touched on it in one of the podcasts, the reason we communicated with him outside of VRBO, because, VRBO has the older people and they don't like to tech. They like to call and talk to somebody. And it was a big ass reservation, so we couldn't lose that. But yeah.
But even with all your ducks in the row, Mike Brown mentioned it. He had all their information. He had all the receipts and invoices and everything that you could ask for. Proof. I had them on camera that everything you could ask for, and they still turned them down. So that's the scary part. And that's and Myka had not Myka, Federico had mentioned that he didn't want to do direct bookings because he's afraid of the chargebacks. But now with Hospitable being the merchant on file, that protects us.
Yeah, and they definitely can.
They charge a fee, right?
How much is their fee?
How much is their fee, Fede?
So it's a 6% per booking plus $10.
Okay.
Now, if you think about it, you need to consider that it's lower than whatever the total Airbnb fee, which is 14% on one side plus 3% on the other side.
Okay. But yeah, so it's like what you said, 6%. That ain't bad because when I was with Guesty for hosts on one hand does have that same chargeback protection, but I think it's like 3%. But the problem with Guesty for hosts is if your Airbnb account goes down, then so does your Guesty for host account. So one bad thing. That's actually why we switched away from them. But Hospitable is coming along in the PMP space. They are, they're new to it, but they're, you got to grow with their growing pains, but they are definitely coming along. So that is a good thing to have on there is that chargeback protection. So
get those direct bookings, man.
Yeah, but be careful getting them apparently, because man, people out here getting screwed. But speaking of that, on an upcoming, if you are in the city of Dallas, the city is hitting up apartments. And if you have short-term rentals there, they are verifying if you have not paid your taxes. So what they're doing is they're basically kicking down the front door of the apartment complex and saying, hey, you have short-term rentals here. You need to make sure that the people who are operating short-term rentals are paying taxes and to make sure they're registered. Then the apartment complex has no choice but to come back to you. Hey, Steve, you operate here. We need to see that you're paying taxes. So make sure you're registered.
That's a weird deal, though, because they're asking the apartment complex
Mhm.
for our tax payments, but that shouldn't have anything to do with the apartment complex. That should be us paying the city.
Correct. But if you're on the apartment complexes, you're inside of their operating on their land, on their parcel, right? So if you're on their parcel operating, you have to be paying taxes as short-term rental tax.
Mm.
And so, see, and this is one thing. Okay, and let me tell you how this happened, because this is what I don't know yet. So basically, we had a guest get towed. I don't know who it was, but I kind of had a feeling who it was. The guest came and said, it was like a couple weeks ago. They said they didn't tell us they got towed. They implied it. They were like, hey, if you should include the parking information at the top of the message, which it is in all caps. I'm assuming they said that after they got towed and then they decided to read. So they got towed. I'm assuming they got towed. And then a week later, they called Mahogany. They were like, hey, your guest that got towed called the city because they got towed. Because, if you get towed, you can, and if it's a wrongful tow, which I'm assuming it was, you can call the city and take the company to tow court, right, and get your money back. So they called the city. I'm assuming they called the city. And of course, the first thing they always say, I was at an Airbnb. So the city comes knocking on the door, hits up the apartment complex saying, hey, these people who are renting out of your place, they need to have, make sure they're paying their taxes and they're registered.
Nice. What y'all are doing. So y'all are good.
Yes, sir. But I'm in the midterm space. See, I only have 2 places to pay taxes on there because I'm in the midterm space. So I was like, and I have, and you know what I haven't done in a while is a market analysis to see who else is operating there. So that is one I need to check out and see who's operating there.
Yeah, man. Because we're signed up with Grand Prairie for our houses and stuff. And so it's a real cool, smooth process. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we are paying the taxes there. Everything's smooth. I know the guy that does the, code enforcement. So that helps.
Can't win and lose there.
So he's a cool dude, a fellow Mexicano. So he's he's a cool guy, Dallas Cowboys fan too. I know, and send presents to his family. I'm just kidding. I don't go that far.
I would. Code enforcement? I would all day. That's a freebie.
Hey, get this car off our street over here, man. It's been there for 3 days. So yeah, I understand the importance of that. Now on the Dallas side, we're getting out. I told you, right? I told you.
Oh,
yeah. As soon as our leases are up, we're out of there. It's just we've had some bad luck. It's the buildings we're at. We've had some bad luck over there.
I agree. I think what happens is because I'm in Dallas and I have a bunch of 2-2s up there, and there are a couple. Me and Mike were actually just talking about it. We are going to cancel a few leases because I was really trying to hold them until the city made a decision. But then it's like the pushback. It's like, okay, the pushback is cool and all, but what it does, it lets everyone continue to operate, right? But if they would have made a decision, okay, now we can know, okay, half the competition's gone if we keep these units, we're in high demand. But then it's like, I'm like, and plus, as you guys may know, I'm trying to get out of arbitrage anyway and own every damn thing. But yeah, it's a few that I'm about to drop off in Dallas too. Same reason, like the tow situation. It's just too many moving parts for me. And it's like, is it really worth the headache? You know what I mean? You really got to know when to cut off a certain unit. But why are y'all getting out of the entire city?
Well, we do have places we manage in Dallas.
Okay.
And they do good.
I got a question about that. Go ahead.
Yeah. And we have a place in Oakland that's going to come up pretty soon. It's going to be a pretty good one for us because it was an Airbnb in the past. It's the one we bought, and then Fede's living in it and they're fixing it up, making it a 2-bed. Oh, dude, we got to talk about that.
Oh yeah.
So it's a big 1 bedroom, like 1,000 square foot 1 bedroom place, right? And it has like a big. It's a kind of like a living area plus like another, carved out living area. That's pretty big.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, this was a 2-bedroom before, or this is just a huge 1-bedroom that can function as a 2-bedroom.
Yeah.
So what Fede did, he came up with this idea to put these it's a big opening, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're thinking like a barn door, it's gonna be a huge freaking barn door. Mm-hmm. So what he did, he's a Pinterest freak. Pinterest. So he put like these bookshelves that covers half of it, right? Kind of makes a wall, like a bookshelf wall.
Yeah.
And then the other half, he went to IKEA the other day and got like a sliding barn door. And he got it for it was like $260 or something, right? And he installed it himself. And man, it looks so freaking cool.
Those are a hit right now. Like I should have put one in one of our rehabs. Those are a hit. Those barn doors, people, if y'all are out there, put those on right now. That's a hit right now.
Yeah. That looks cool, man. And so it makes second bedroom.
Yeah.
So this thing we bought as a 1-bedroom for whatever price. Now, it's we're gonna put like an armoire, like make it a closet, for them, and because technically you have to have a closet to be a
bedroom.
To be a bedroom. Otherwise it would be called like a study or something. But for Airbnb's sake or whatever, it's a second bedroom.
Yeah. So, plus it goes, if you got another bedroom, adds value to the house. Came in, lose there.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. That one's gonna turn back into an Airbnb once they hop out. They're closing on a house. Congratulations to Federico and Gato. They're closing on a house.
Mm-hmm.
So
and then you're contact on Grand Prairie because we need the approval.
Oh, yeah. Send me some bread. Okay. He's my homie. So they got a house in Grand Prairie, really nice, big, nice house with a pool.
Okay.
That's always a hit, man. And so they'll be hopping out of the Le Chateau, and so that's going to turn into an Airbnb.
Grand Prairie is a hot market. I know a lady doing a bunch of new builds out there, and it's really hot. And this is one thing I had to ask you on the management side. So at this point, when some people, especially people who are arbitraging, are you looking to take on clients that are arbitraging properties? And then even if you run the numbers, right? Let's say you're charging 20%. You're charging 20%, you look at the numbers and you're like, man, this rent's a little high. Your margins are going to be slim. Are you lowering your management fee? Or are you still taking the client at the 20%?
So that would be more of a question for Fede, because we do have a girl that we manage for, a great lady, and she arbitrages. That's all she does. But she finds high-end, badass arbitrages. Right?
Okay.
We've managed for people before that had ghetto arbitrages, and of course, there's no margin for anything with the ghetto. Yeah, I mean, you're barely going to break even, and then our fee hits, and you're losing money, right?
There you go.
So our this girl that we manage for, she does nothing but arbitrage. Great client, who will pay in the. I mean, here's the thing though. It's always a sliding scale, because if she's going to keep bringing us these money producing arbitrages, right? That they're under her name and all that, her business name and all that stuff, and we're managing them, we're getting a nice chunk of money. Of course, we're going to give them a discount, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you have one, we'll do our regular 25% fee. If you have 2 or 3 or 4, you start getting more and more, start bringing more and more to us. Yeah, we're going to knock down a little bit just to give her a better price, because it's just like any business, really, right? Because a supplier doesn't give you, they'll give you a deal if you keep buying a whole bunch of stuff from them.
Yeah.
So now Fede, he always talks about he doesn't. Now she's a unicorn, right? She's a unicorn, but there's a lot of people that, especially newbies that try to do the arbitrage games. They don't know what they're doing.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
So he's good about assessing the property, seeing what his potential is, and seeing if it's even worth, managing. Because we don't want an unhappy client that's going to be losing money. That doesn't do any good for us either, or our name.
Exactly, and that's what I've been running into a lot. Is now this is what this is my discrepancy. You'll get a person who owns the property, and their operating expenses are a little lower, and numbers look great. But then you have that newbie, like you said, hey, I was watching YouTube, they started arbitraging, I started calling people, this landlord said yes, rent's sky high. So then you're like, I don't think this shit gonna work, but they're kind of forceful about it. So that's been nice, because I've been hitting up a lot the last 2 weeks. So I just kind of wanted to see how you guys were gauging it. And you guys are like, hey, if the numbers ain't gonna work, it just ain't going to work. I like that approach because I like to be transparent. And that seems like you guys are doing the same thing, just being 100% transparent. This unit's not going to work.
Yeah, because it just brings more headaches than anything. Because they're just going to be like, why are we losing money? What are we doing? It's just going to be a more hands-on client, Whereas one was like, oh, this arbitrage has great potential. It's going to make good money. They'll hand it to us just like the girl that we work with, and she doesn't bother us at all. I mean, unless it's something crazy, dire event or something, she doesn't bother us. Money comes in, she gets paid, pays us our invoice. It's all good, and so we look for clients like that that know what they're doing.
Yeah,
in the arbitrage game.
Yeah, that's the best thing. So, okay, with you guys getting out of Dallas, what markets are you guys targeting?
Fort Worth. We're big about Fort Worth, man. We love Fort Worth. So we've already, yeah. We've already picked up 3. I mean, in the last few months, we picked up 3 units there at the same complex.
Okay.
And that was from, so, it's so funny because all these, any networking you can do is great for your business.
Can't beat it.
And so, for example, I don't hang around Facebook anymore or IG, but I'm getting back into them because that's where there's money there. Mm-hmm. And how I found this particular the first unit we got in at this complex, which all 3 are paying great, are booked up, and it's right by a hospital, travel nurses. It's great, man. And it's because through Facebook, and I saw someone say, hey, I got this property in Fort Worth. One of those things, please go look at it. And people are tired of doing that, right? People are tired of hearing, I'm not going to look at your freaking, Airbnb. But I went ahead. I was at Fort Worth, I like Fort Worth. So I went and looked at her Airbnb, and I was like, wow, this is really nice. And I just, DM'd her. I was like, this is really nice. What, for me, I just want to know what complex it's in, if they have more units,
Yeah.
And she's like, oh yeah. It's over at this complex, and thank you for your for saying message and your advice. I'm not looking. I don't need a management team at the time. Of course, I tried to say we manage too. If you need some management help, we're going to do it ourselves. But this complex is full right now. But if something comes up, I'll let you know. Mm-hmm. And so, sure enough, something came up, and she let us know. And then she has an in with the manager there. Mm-hmm. And so I talked to them. We got our first unit there. Well, that's really when Fede and Gato first moved to town. They lived in that first unit. And they turned it into an Airbnb, while they were there. And so that one's been a hit. And then she wanted to. She's actually hopping out of the arbitrage game slowly. So I ended up getting 2 of her units already fully furnished and everything. And
so 3 months already paid itself.
And one came with the tenant for 3 months.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, it was a money maker, and so we got 3 units from that place, and we're looking for more. So we made that connection. She's trying to get into skyrises. Hell, I'll follow someone to skyrise places in big time.
Skyrises. Now I have a question about Fort Worth, because I get this one a lot. Like, what regulations are there in Fort Worth, and are there regulations? Because I know some people get caught up at certain places. Like, what are the regulations?
June 1st, regulations hit. And
what's June 1st?
June 1st is, they approve short-term rental regulations. Mm-hmm. And so if you're not, and they have a map, which is actually a pretty generous map. I mean, you look at it, it's a lot of spots you can do it. And
like Arlington?
Yeah, all in the hood, north side.
Stop 6.
You can do it there if you want.
Might get shot. Go ahead.
Yeah, give him a gun. So they, I think, theirs is really reasonable, and it's like you pay $100.
Yeah.
To get the permit, and then for them to come out and check out your place, $100. And
way better than Arlington.
I think Grand Prairie was like 400 something for them to, and you have to pay that every single year to renew. But one booking, it pays for itself. Whatever. It's
10 units, $4K a year, not bad.
If you do, but one booking pays for itself for the $400 anyway. And so there's, as long as it's zoned correctly, you pass all the stuff, they come look at your unit, then you can continue. You can do Airbnb. Okay. And so it seems pretty generous, because they went from like 100% ban, pretty much 100% ban throughout most of the city, to, okay, let's start opening up this Airbnb thing. I think what it is, Fort Worth's always been the little brother or little to Dallas, right?
Mhm.
And they're like, well, Dallas is over here talking about banning it all. Let's talk, let's get all the people that usually go to Dallas. We'll welcome them here to Fort Worth,
Yeah.
So it's a good developments in Fort Worth. If you're listening out there, don't come to Fort Worth.
Yeah, there's a few. I mean, the DFW I think is going to be a hit regardless, but old Plano, man, they basically just said they are banning any new rentals for the next year. I still don't know what that means. But basically I guess you can't register your property with the city for the next year. I don't know how many people are actually registered. So that's the thing that I'm confused about. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, can you not go on Airbnb and make a listing in Plano? I haven't tested it yet, but yeah, that's where Plano's moving to. So it does seem like, I do feel like the more regulations that are in place around the DFW, it's just going to make other areas more desirable. Like you said, Fort Worth, it's just going to make it more desirable.
Have you called them, the city?
That's what we were trying to do last week. I didn't have time to do it, and that's my plan to do. Is like, okay, what are you stopping? You know what I mean? Because remember, Plano is partnered with Airbnb directly to receive tax payments. So I'm like, that made me think like, okay, if you're saying no more, are you keeping an eye on who's the new people paying taxes? But I've heard Airbnb just pays the tax in a lump sum. So technically don't know if that lump sum is the original correct amount or not. But that's what I was wondering with Plano. Now I am going to call and find that out because I think that's very important. So
okay.
Yeah.
You have how many units there?
We just have one big house out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, man. That was a weird deal because I mean, with Dallas, they've been talking about this stuff for like 3 years now. And Plano just said, okay, there was a brothel and now we're going to shut it all down. What?
Plano had two things. There was a brothel and then there was the damn, the gun, the shooting. So, and the first thing, they do is blame Airbnb, which I'm not mad at. But, the first thing they do is put Airbnb out there for PR purposes. And then, it starts coming down on the rest of the city. So those are two instances. So I don't know with Plano. So I think the second incident was like, okay, we're going to go ahead and, shut it down. But I mean, if somebody's running a brothel, they aren't running a short-term rental anyway. That's a different business. But I mean, seriously,
you're already renting it for a short period of time, right?
Yeah, maybe hourly. That's called peer space. But I mean, oh man, pimps and hoes. I don't know if that's really considered short-term, but I mean, it is technically, but
So speaking of arbitrage, you say you've been saying for a while you're hopping out.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to do arbitrage anymore. I still love arbitrage. See, my hat says I love arbitrage.
Yeah.
and so and I was like, man, you could just start making money on something right away.
Mm-hmm.
And I know buying, yeah, that's great, and we're purchasing properties too, right? But arbitrage just, I mean, especially if it's in the right building and the right, and the right atmosphere for Airbnb, I don't see a lot wrong with it.
No. I would definitely say know your business goals.
Now, Fede, he had a good point because he said, okay, we do have houses and we have been getting those insurance claims lately. I think
it's
2 or 3 are tied up in those long insurance claims, which is great. And we got a long booking at one of our other Grand Prairie places, but that one got booked through Airbnb. Like it was a long booking through Airbnb for a nice amount, like for a month or so for like $4,500. And I was gonna ask Fede, when we start getting into the questions section, because y'all had mentioned that they take less fees out when they do the longer bookings now, right?
Oh, yeah. They are. Airbnb is looking to, I guess that worked then. They are looking to get into that midterm space by, if someone does book a longer term stay, they're going to take out less fees, which.
On us or them?
On the guest, I guess it would be on the guest. Because
you still pay what, 3%?
You still would, yeah. I think that 3% is like a processing fee plus, they may add on their extra. But honestly, what I think is, I think it's from the guest. Because it makes it more enticing for the guest if he has to pay less on the guest reservation fee or whatever it is. And that really is what told me they're trying to get in. Really? Okay. So this is a good point. This leads into Airbnb lost $3 billion in a day, right?
Yeah, I heard that.
So that told me these midterm rentals are kicking their ass. Like, okay, these people are booking off platform. They know it now. They're like, okay, They're kicking our ass. Sean made a good point in a video the other day. He said, who was it? Sonder or someone said they were losing money. Vacasa said they were losing money. He goes, Airbnb came out and were like, oh, well, we're making all this money for PR purposes. And then their valuation came out, damn, lost $3 billion. They were lying, right? So that showed me, okay, when they released that summer release, they really need those midterm people to come back to the platform. So maybe, and it looks like it's working. Now, how long was the stay?
It was about a month or a little longer.
See, that's
35
perfect.
Days. Yeah,
so clearly it worked.
The lower fee probably for 4 months over.
Oh,
So
see, that's
for now it's gonna be like 1 to 2 months.
Well, that excludes most of the travel nurse stays. If it's 4 months and over, because most travel nurses stay 3 months.
Yeah, I don't tell you, I ain't touched no travel nurse in months.
Yeah, it's been dried up, man.
Yeah, I got away from. I just don't. The only way I'll go back to travel nurses if I'm doing it room by room. That's the only way I'm touching travel nurses.
I see that Airbnbs, and then they're putting their commercials
rooms.
out.
Yeah,
Airbnb
see
rooms. It's the commercials out there too.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, because they showed this girl going to Italy, staying with his family, and all this. Makes it all, and that's cool. I've stayed in rooms before, way back in the day, Barcelona and some other spots, and it's all right.
I think, and that's Airbnb's roots. Honestly, I mean, that's how the company was started. And then. Because remember, there was a period Airbnb was getting in trouble because they're like, all these arbitragers, all these people who own big houses, they're taking over the neighborhoods. But that was Airbnb's roots. And it seems like they are going back to that. And maybe it is to cater to that traveling nurse crowd. And then they're lowering fees. So I think that, let's be real, they're $1 billion company. They know where the hole in the purse is, and it's obvious with this summer release. So I've been excited to see okay, would people be more enticed to go to these platforms? Because remember what I was saying on last episode was thing with insurance clients, they don't want to go through Airbnb because they can't always trust it and they have to view the property beforehand. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, that's a big thing, being able to go look at the property.
Yeah. And matter of fact, Mike, I'm actually going to do it. I'm going to start setting up Matterports. I'm going to tell you this awesome thing Mike did. He set up he put a QR code inside of his pictures so they can just click the QR link inside of the picture, and then it goes to a Matterport. My next goal is I'm going to test this out. I'm going to have it go to a Matterport and on the Matterport screen, I'm going to have it where they can book direct. But I'm going to play around with it for a while. I'm going to see how many people are clicking it because I'm going to keep track of it.
Well, tell the listener out there, what's a Matterport?
Matterport is like a 3D, it's like you're walking through the property. It's a 3D tour. So if you've ever seen on Zillow, you'll see people say, click 3D tour. That's a Matterport. So where you click the little circle on the ground, it takes you to the next room. It's like you're live inside of it. And I do think that Matterport inside of the Airbnb platform is going to be a big hit because people can now see live inside of the unit. It's just so many opportunities out there to me that I think Airbnb hasn't touched. And I do think that when we start using certain things like that, they'll try to implement it. Like you can see with the midterm stays, maybe they start doing Matterports because that's a huge, maybe we shouldn't be saying this. Airbnb got people listening. I mean, for real, that is actually a huge disadvantage if insurance clients are saying we'll pay 3-4 times the rent, but I have to see the property. That's a lot of money Airbnb is losing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they need the address.
Yeah.
They can't book it without an address. That's the big part.
I don't think Airbnb could ever get in that space then.
Oh, yeah, they can't give out addresses.
Shit. People will be at say
the person themselves, when you ask them, they might give it out to you. They might give it to you. They might feel like, oh, why are you asking for this address? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That makes me see that you bring up a good point. I don't think Airbnb, you're right. I don't think Airbnb would get in that space because that's like their biggest thing is you can't give out the address because, and people, because I remember we first started doing it, you could send your address through Airbnb because it was new. You could send it. That's been stopped. You can't do that crap no more. And if it does, you might get flagged. So,
yeah, man, big developments.
Yeah, man, Airbnb's. But I will say they pivot. They know how to pivot.
So another interesting thing I want to bring up on the show because so some of these, especially our units in Fort Worth, they come with this. It's 1 bedrooms, right? Okay. They have these huge walk-in closets. Ridiculously huge. Mm-hmm. And I started looking at, I go down Pinterest aisle. I started looking, I put in Google, turn a closet into a bedroom. and it showed me these cool little kids' bedrooms you could make out of these closets, right? Because the kids, they just need the kids' bed.
All they need.
And they need a little stuff over here in the corner for some toys and things like that. And then you could put some, posters on the wall, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Harry Potter room, I think there's a Fede was mentioning. But I mean, it's a whole, because Airbnbers, they don't need a freaking walk-in closet. They're traveling for a few days, right? And they have what they have in their freaking bags. They don't need a damn walk-in closet. That's someone who's living there for like months at a time. And so I thought about, I told Fede we should try it and turn one of these closets into like either a second bedroom with a cot, or I think a kid's space would work out better.
Yeah, I was gonna say themed rooms are a hit right now. If you can do like I seen shout out to our guy Mike Trogren. He did one by Disney and he decked it out all themed. Hits every time. He did a Star Wars one. So if you can go themed, there are very big hits. Now, the only thing I will say about themed, I would maybe look at what attractions are around. Like if I had one in Grapevine, because Grapevine had Legoland, right? I would make a Lego themed unit, because then people who go into Legoland, you could kind of connect the dots. This is what people do down at Disney. And that's a great, like, especially if that's your guest avatar's kids, you can't miss with that.
Imagine your cleaner picking up damn Legos everywhere.
I don't know if you want to put them in there, but theme it like it.
Oh, okay.
Theme it. Do a Lego theme. I don't know if you want to put them in there.
The giant blocks.
The giant blocks. That'd be a hit, because those themed places are, and I don't know. And now I'll ask you this. Do you think Airbnb, with them getting into like midterm, do you think Airbnb has their hands in too many pots? Because remember for a second there, they were catering to the themed units. Now they're like, well, we're going to go rooms. We're going to go midterm. That's a lot of pots. So how are people, that algorithm has to be, thrown off a little bit?
That's a good question, because, they're so big now. It's not like a startup saying, oh, we should choose one thing and try to do that only. They have the capabilities to do everything, because, travel nurses do look on Airbnb to find a spot. They booked through Airbnb before. Corporate travelers, leisure travelers, even people that are getting house worked on, they'll book through us book us through Airbnb. So they have the capabilities and the biggest platform to cater to everybody.
Yeah. So I don't
think they necessarily have to like be pigeonholed into one thing. I think they can service different people.
Yeah, I think that like as far as you as the user being on there, do you think your listing may be pigeonholed by them being in so many spots? How can they do you think they can directly cater to what you have?
That's a good question.
That's what I was wondering. Because when I seen the midterm thing, and I seen the midterm thing, the rooms thing, and I actually want to talk to someone who's doing rooms and see how well it's doing since the rooms thing was released. But I guess you have to request access to all this stuff. Am I not mistaken? And I've seen a lot of people in the Airbnb host group on Facebook. A lot of them got the early access and their listings disappeared. So so I was like, I ain't about to be the guinea pig for that. I would say, if you are listening, if you want to test that early access, you can, but make sure you
got to work out the bugs, man.
Yeah, you have to work out the bugs.
Because Airbnb is not a hospitality company, right? They're a technology
tech company. Yep, I agree.
So all they're doing, we're the ones that are providing the hospitality.
Yeah,
you got to remember that. And so you go to Facebook or whatever, and all you hear is people bitching about guests and this and that. They did this, and dude, you're in hospitality. That's the game you chose.
Facts.
You can't bitch about everybody, Shannon. You hear me, Shannon?
Yeah, and that's one reason why I actually that's what I was going to tell you. I forgot. So on my insurance booking, the freaking hot water heater went out. So I was like, shit. So this is what happened. We ordered a hot water heater. They delivered a broken hot water heater, right? So I'm like, bro, come on now. So I had to have them redeliver the hot water heater. They couldn't, on the redelivery, they didn't have it as an installation. So I had to order somebody to come out and install it. This is like a 3-day process. So this whole time, they don't have hot water. So I was like, look, I can put you guys in the hotel for a couple of days and see if we can work it out. She goes, no, we're good. I'm like, okay, cool. And then she's like, cool. So the next day, guy comes out, gets the hot water heater, installs it, hauls the old one off. I was thinking to myself, now, if that was an Airbnb reservation, I might have been fricked. I would have been fricked. But if I'm like, she was cool about it. And I asked her, I was like, look, we'll put you in the hotel. She was like, no, we're good. But she was an insurance client and she had just came from a hotel and she was like, I ain't going back. But the house is so immaculate that she didn't want to, she was like, I ain't tripping. Because, and this goes back to your hospitality, she's seen how quickly we reacted. If you react quickly to something in communication, they'll always be in your favor.
Well, that's true. Because especially with our ghetto units, Fede can vouch for that. Because we will get good reviews, even if situations happen, because our VAs are so fast at responding and getting the things, at least addressed. Now getting them fixed is another story. Because when you said clients without hot water, that's happened a lot to us. they bought the cheapest water heaters money can buy.
Is this an apartment?
Yeah, those apartments that we arbitraged in Dallas. Dude. Like I said, we're leaving Dallas.
See, and that's another thing. That's one thing we haven't talked about is the damn maintenance issues. Because a lot of them, we had an issue. One issue we're facing with one unit is the damn pests. And then you tell pest control to come out. They don't want to come out. They come out late. And then if you hire your own pest control, I think it's like a liability or something. You hire your own pest control. They get a little finicky about that sometimes. But that's just been an issue too. It's like the maintenance, I'm just like, damn, dude, y'all can't go, because if it's your house, you got a handyman, you got the pest man, they come out. Like we had an issue with some pests at one of our not our bigger properties, one of our mid-side properties. Person came out, fixed it. Airbnb, it was through Airbnb, and they left a good review. But if that was through an apartment in Dallas, man, these old funky apartments in Dallas, man, this managements are horrible, bro. I'm serious. That's another thing we have to talk about as well. Maybe in the future, we got to make sure we put that in like the lease. Like, hey, you guys have X amount of time to respond to problems or issues.
Yeah. I'll tell you, and we might have even mentioned this on the show before, but what this particular complex where we're we've got a lot of units from there. That's where we got our start, in these ghetto units in Dallas, ghetto units. For youngsters and adventurous people, backpackers, they're perfect, right? Where you want to be, close to all the action, close to all the fun. But for certain demographics, they don't like that stuff, right? And
it's funny you bring that up because I was just on a call with somebody and they were like, she's a sister, and she said, look, man, I keep getting these bad reviews, in Lower Greenville. I'm like, Lower Greenville? She was like, yeah, man, people, that's where they are.
It's ours.
She was like, man, certain people will book and it'll be just fine. Other people will book. I'm like, you can be real with me. What are the other people? She goes, they're older white people. I'm like, yeah, it's just not. I'm like, you have, and I gave her this tip. I gave her the profile changing tip. I'm like, you can probably change the profile a little bit to target who you want to come. Because shout out to our friend Michael Ige. He's the one who said that. He goes, yeah, I've heard you guys talk on the podcast about changing your profile picture. He goes, well, the hood. He goes, I put myself as the profile picture because I'm Black. They'll come book and they won't have as much issue with what's going on because it's a socio kind of demographic thing too. People are comfortable where they're comfortable. You know what I mean? So you're gonna have certain complaints that you might not have to run into.
Right. And so this complex, what they're doing, and it was ingenious at first, and it might be still ingenious because they started seeing the potential in people booking or renting places as to do Airbnb, right? Okay. And paying a premium to do it, But now they're not, they got rid of that premium part, which is good because, they're trying to retain these Airbnb hosts. But what happens? So these places that are in, like I said, not the best part of town, they go in there, they put lipstick on a pig, they buy these old crack hotels, right? Or crack whatever, crack apartment complexes. They fix them up, make them pretty. They put the nice finishes on there. Yeah, the finishes are the cheapest thing you can do, right?
Easy.
A sink thing or the handles.
Yeah,
but they put the cool ones.
Yeah,
and so you walk through there, you're like, wow, these cabinets look nice. These everything looks nice. The floor squeaks a little, but that could be nothing. What could go wrong? And so Fede's shaking his head. And so they put lipstick on these pigs. They kind of fix them up once over. Maybe not perfectly, but they look good in pictures. They look damn good in pictures. Sarah did our first two, and they look great. They still book really good. But the thing is, they start having a lot of maintenance issues, man. As far as they use the cheapest flooring, they use the cheapest, like I said, water heaters or stuff like that, air conditioner units. is like this small.
And that's they're rehabbing to sell, man.
They're rehabbing it. They load it with these Airbnbers, us, like me, and like me and Fede, and then they get 100% occupancy. And then they go, hey, who's interested in buying this apartment complex? You know, they bought it for like 500 grand. They're selling it for like 2 million now because it's 100% occupied, renovated place, full of Airbnbers. And then they go on, they get the money, they get the next one, the next one. So they're just buying these buildings, these crack buildings in Dallas and turning them into these Airbnb apartment complexes.
This is one question I have for you. Are y'all starting to see when that starts happening, right? Because they start filling it up. Are y'all the only ones operating there, or are there other operators?
No, everybody there is, it's all 100% Airbnb.
That's
almost 100%.
So this is what I would ask you. Do you think it's time, because you guys are a growing business, right? You think it's time you start doing first right to refusal on those businesses, so then you tell them, hey, we're the only ones who can operate here. And then because...
Maybe not there, maybe another...
Oh, okay. Not the ghetto units, but...
We're the first refusal. We could be the first refusal.
First to get the hell out of here. But no. What I was saying, like, even like the future ones, like the newer ones, right? Have you guys thought about doing like a first right to refuse? Like, hey, we're the only ones that can operate here. So then when you start, they start renting it out. You're not renting it out to all these Airbnbers. And then you having to compete with people who do a bad job. Now you got parties popping off. And then the city starts flashing their red light. Have y'all thought about doing that yet?
That's a good point, man. Maybe because we are, like I said, we have 3 in this one place in Fort Worth. Maybe we could talk to him about that. Hey, come to us first, first right of refusal type. You see how we operate. Yeah. We have good guests, great guests, no problems. And maybe that would be worth it because all it takes is one bad Airbnb and then the city comes down on everybody. And so that's a great idea. I'll talk to my boss about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was because the reason I say that is because like even with these people coming in, because the easiest way to fill a damn unit is just tell somebody, hey, you can Airbnb it, that'll fill it up, and you can go refinance it, sell it, do whatever. But I think that is a good like business plan longevity wise, especially if y'all going to stay in that arbitrage space, so you can kind of start really controlling that building. Because one thing we were having, me and Mike had at one of ours, we had I think about 10 to 13 units here at this unit building, or a little bit less, like 8 to 10 or whatever, is you had other people coming in. And I think I told this story before. It was another dude who had dreads like me. And he was the profile picture, right? My profile picture either of a woman or of my logo. I think back then it was a picture of the girl. So I had went in one day, I went to the office to ask for something. All black people look alike. So I asked the girl for something. Seriously, I asked the girl for something and she was like, yeah, cool. And there was a party at this dude's Airbnb, the other dude with dreads, right? And I looked at the dude, we don't look jack shit alike, right? Whatever. But we don't look nothing alike. But she sends an email over to the head boss up there and she goes, yeah, this is the guy who runs them. And she was talking about me in my email and she sent the listing. And I was like, and they backed off me because I had to play the little card on them, the race card on them. I'm like, excuse me. No, I think I had Mahogany write it up. She's like, I was like, excuse me. This isn't me. Yes, black people do have dreads, but not all of us look alike. And basically went in and then the lady came back and she apologized. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I gave her our listing numbers and she showed us that it wasn't us who was having the party. But that's another reason. That first right to refusal is huge.
Nice. Now, real quick, go back to like I said, they're buying them.
Yeah,
fixing them up a little bit and renting them out to Airbnbers. Now they got another one coming up, but the thing is, the music's got to stop at one point because people are gonna be like, they can't make money in Dallas anymore, especially if you keep adding another 50 units, another 50 units, another 50 units. It's just so and there's already been just people walking away, leaving all their furniture there. We've seen them out front, just a big pile of furniture because they're getting evicted because it's Airbnbers. They're like, screw it, keep the furniture. Peace out. I'm not paying for this place anymore. There's holes in my floor. There's this, and this, and they're just leaving. So the music's got to stop, and the investors will discover that, and they're screwed.
I agree because
to us desperately because the units that were not renewed.
Huh?
They're reaching out to us desperately to keep the leases. Remember, Marty mentioned that.
Please stay. Don't leave us.
Well, yeah, they're very scared that we're not renewing. Like, what is it? 10 leases.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's leverage. I mean, I know you don't want to stay there, but
we don't want to stay. And they give it for free. We don't want to stay.
Yeah.
But maybe free.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. But yeah, it eventually is going to have to stop. I mean, because people, they'll catch on to it. Because if they can't pull their money back out of it, But what the thing is, though, by the time those holes are already there, what's it doing? They've already sold it and it's going to a new investor who's going to patch the holes and do it again. So it's like a revolving door. But what happens in the meantime is people like you, us, we hop out and then someone new comes in. It's a revolving door. And it's like,
Yeah, that's true. Unless the city did something like ban it or something. But
I'm happy you brought that up because that's been my biggest dilemma is like, should I wait for the regulations to go or should I keep this unit? Because I'm like, if I keep the unit, regulations come, we're good to go. We can keep operating because we're on commercial. Mm-hmm. But if I let them go, it's like one of them things like, I don't know. That's where I'm stuck at. Like, have y'all thought about that?
Like I said, we have like units we manage, for in Dallas. There's some that are doing great, but those are like right in downtown, uptown, perfect location. And the problem is too, we might be losing some of those coming up because the place where our client is at, they got a new management company. That's always the problem with arbitrage, right? Mm-hmm. And the new management company don't want Airbnb. So they're not going to renew the Airbnbers that are there right now. There's a bunch of them, but I mean, it's a beautiful property. Kicks butt, man. It's amazing.
Ooh, see, that's the flip side. We have a property that's not just beautiful. It wasn't a crack house when you walked in. It was it had a boarded up window. I'll say that. It had a boarded up window. Not a full crack house, just had a boarded up window. Okay. So
we've been there.
Yeah. So basically they sold it right when we were like a few months in, they sold it. But when they sold it, they first came and said, "Hey, are you doing short-term rentals?" We said, "Yeah." They were cool with the last one, and we kept doing it. They let us do it. So that is one thing we may want to start putting in leases is, hey, if you guys change management, you have to like I don't know how you would write that up, like a concession, like, hey, we have X amount of time on the renewal, we can continue or something like that. Mm-hmm. Because we've ran into that issue. We just so happen to be cool. Now we've had a unit down in Houston when we were doing it. Unit got sold, new management comes in, we want you gone. Mm. So there's a lot of stuff you got to put in place to protect yourself in arbitrage.
Man, at least try to get the 2 years. Get a 2-year lease because what happens after 1 year? Hey, I paid off my furniture. Next year's profit, right? No, y'all got to leave, and then you're screwed.
Now, how are y'all? Now, are y'all doing houses?
Like arbitrage?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How are y'all targeting y'all owners? Because I'm gonna tell you how I've been targeting them. I'm purposely targeting people who's owned their houses at least 5 years, so they have a good interest rate, and therefore my operating expenses are lower. Are y'all just going in with the higher, or how are y'all targeting?
So people that have owned their house for 5 years, you're trying to arbitrage from them.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. I just go to Zillow and call everybody. That hasn't in the area I want to be in. You know what I'm saying? And I do my sales pitch and stuff like that. But I guess I don't. Yeah, I never thought of doing the Wix 5-year thing.
Let me tell you what the problem we ran into. So we're on Marriott Homes and Villas, and it's nicer properties on there. We got a nice ass property on Marriott Homes and Villas, but the problem is it got really slow when we started running. Like, what's going on, right? Then we get on Marriott Homes and Villas. There's a dude right next door to us, charging like I think $80, $90 cheaper than us. Swimming pool, hot tub, everything. We ain't got that. So I'm like, damn, we got to bring the prices down, man. But we started looking and I started really looking at his property. I'm like, he owns this son of a bitch. So he can do that. He can do it. He owns it. So his operating cost is way lower than ours. We're arbitraging it. So I was like, that was the issue I'm running into. So I'm like, and then this damn owner turned into a pain in the ass. But one thing I was going to say was, one thing you do when you do arbitrage houses is kind of look for that 5-year mark because you want their interest rate for the pandemic or right when the pandemic hit, when people was hitting all those refis and they got that 3%. And then we can go into the other play at the end of the lease. You want to owner finance, sub 2, you know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah. So I kind of, those are the things I've been targeting because we had a call and I'm like, dude, these people are charging have more value and they're cheaper. That's Al Williamson's claim. More value and cheaper.
A-dub. Yeah, that's cool, man. One thing on the owner financing front, and what I'm finally seeing again is funny because you go on Zillow and you can put in the little box down there. You put all the stuff you want, 3, 2, whatever you're looking for. But at the very bottom, additional information. You could put and you can put owner financing, right? And then the houses will pop up, and people actually will owner finance it to you.
Yeah.
They'll owner finance it to you with 20% down on these $300,000, $400,000 houses, which are $70,000, $80,000, right?
Yeah.
And then they want 8.5% interest rates.
Man.
I mean, they're not even pretty houses,
bro.
dude. They're not even nice. But it's some people use that tool to go, they know these people can't afford, they're not going to be able to afford that, $2,500, $3,000 a month payment, whatever it is.
Dude, that is starting to become a theme. Me and Mahogany sat at Starbucks with this seller, man. We went to his house. Man, we walk in here. Now, I think the lady, she's a stripper. You could tell when we walked in, that's our business. We walk in, this house falling apart, right? So we talked to the owner about buying it. He was like, I don't want cash because I don't want to pay taxes. It's like, cool, we can do the owner finance route. We talked to this dude, man. He's talking about I need about 20,000 down and I'll do a 10% interest rate.
Hard money guy.
All right, bro. I'm like, all right, this ain't the deal for us. So we talked to him. I was like, this ain't the deal for us. So yeah, and what they do is there are some people who do that because they have bad credit.
Yeah.
And they might not know no better. Because I had a dude come to me the other day trying to owner finance my house I just finished. He didn't have the best credit. And I was like, I'll do it. But I was like, I need this much down and then we can do it. And he was just like, oh, I'll see. He hasn't came back to me. But yeah, there are people that, but I wasn't going to hook them up no 10% interest rate. I was like, look, bro, I'll do it for like 5.5 because I can refinance. I ain't even going to refinance it. I'll just take a lump sum and just do owner finances. I'll owner finance it to them. But yeah, there are owner finance sharks out there.
Oh, yeah. So, man, let's do a little bit of roundtable before we wrap this up.
Yes, sir.
Mike 3 and 4.
Yeah, man. Let's
Mike 3 and 4 is on. You got some input, some questions, anything you want to cover?
I want to start a short-term rental business. I'm hitting arbitrages. They told me to go to the businesses and tell them that I want to do a corporate lease with my LLC. Is that the correct way?
Yeah, do that. You'll see what they say.
No, I think you guys covered great points. Talking about I think that what I've been seeing is that whatever we always say, this space has been professionalized.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to think when Steve was talking about these units out in Dallas, and I was going through the moment we started
Federico
there.
Talking, by the way.
Huh?
It's Federico talking, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
The people.
Until now, and the start was not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
We're making money. They were nicely designed. Sarah did a great job. There were some issues, but it wasn't that bad. I think it grew too much and it became a monster because, again, it was a place where when everyone was trying to find a place that they were allowed to do an Airbnb, and when most of the places, when you brought up the word Airbnb will freak out, they were like, yeah, come do it. So that brought up a lot of bad operators. And it's funny because the way we grew our business and we actually started our business is because there was another company that was doing a pretty shitty job. And that's why we started doing it. And that was an example of someone that was doing everything to turn a place into a negative situation where they were not controlling who was booking. For example, in one building in Fort Worth, we were doing amazingly well, no issues at all. And then the entire building banned pets because she was allowing pit bulls. And the owner was pretty freaked out and she was having parties and stuff like that. And we were being super organized and everything was good with the operation. And still we got hit, and then most of our clients were not able to renew for Airbnb when they had no issues at all through the entire lease.
Yeah. You know what topic we did miss was the importance of management right now. I think management's a huge play right now. If even outside of even arbitrage, right? We talked a lot about arbitrage, but another play that I think, you might be missing on is management. Management's huge because you ain't got no risk.
Yeah.
There's no, you want to make sure your clients are happy, but there's no risk.
We're reaching out to a lot of hosts out there.
Yeah.
Tired hosts, tired of losing money is the biggest thing, but they're tired of a lot of things. And they're finally entertaining the fact, because at first, I want to do this myself. I'll keep all the money. And then they're like, wow, I'm doing something wrong because I'm not. I ran into a dude at Walmart because I was buying these beanbag toss, that cornhole game, whatever. And he's like, oh man, is that a good game? How much was that? just talking to me at the register, and I was like, well, it's pretty decent, for $60, it's not bad. He's like, oh, but is it real sturdy for like, and they said for like an Airbnb. And I was like, yeah, I wouldn't put it at Airbnb because I mean, if someone stands on it, it might break. This is for my kids,
Yeah.
This isn't and he's like, oh, okay. It's like, so that was my in. I was like, oh, you do Airbnb. And they started, yeah, right here in Bedford, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, cool, I do a little Airbnb myself. And we started talking about it and we got each other's info. I said, I got a podcast, you can check it out, blah, blah, blah. And excuse me, I did. And of course, I did pitch a little. I was like, we do management, because I asked him at first, how's he doing? And he's like, well, not as good as I thought we would be doing. I thought it was going to be, gangbusters, but it's a house. And so we're trying to find out ways to make it do better. And I can help with that, man. No worries. And so I got his information. I, texted back and forth a few times. So try to just keep the conversation going. But a lot of people are into it now, and they're just starting. And the ones back in the last few years, everybody just started. So they were like, oh, I don't need management. I'm going to do it all myself. And now those same people are like, man, I can't make money on this thing. I don't know what's going wrong. These guys over here claim they can make some money. They're talking all this talk. So they're entertaining us actually taking over as management.
See, and I like how you did that. You hit them with multiple angles. They're tired hosts, right? Just like a tired landlord. They can either... You can manage someone who's a tired landlord or buy their property. But yeah, that is a huge thing right now. I'm starting to meet a lot of people who are hearing everything about Airbnbs because there's a lot of negative press, like just from YouTubers, right? A few years ago, YouTubers, get Airbnb. Now you have people coming out, oh, it's a bad investment because they don't want to put the time into it. So there's people who hear that. They're like, they'll hop in, but they want someone to manage it right off the bat. And that's what I'm starting to run into.
Nice. Mikey B to the mic.
Big Mike.
Yeah. What's going on? This is Mike. So I just wanted to kind of just add on to that. So, I mean, I totally agree that, a lot of hosts that have been in the game for a little bit are just now realizing that, hey, host fatigue is real.
It is.
Right. I think a lot of people earlier on, and even today, unfortunately, still push that this business is passive, and it is far from that. Right. Unless you get to a certain point where you're really, really scaling to where you have literally a whole team with concierge and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's not going to be passive. Now, it's not fully active like maybe a full-time job per se. I mean, and it also depends on what kind of systems you have in place too. Right. So I know some people are set up a little bit better and organized, and that's going to ultimately make your life easier. Right. As opposed to those that may not. But I like what you said about, being able to talk to that pain point because, a lot of people, they're tired of having to, respond to messages at all times of the day or at night or whatever. Or, what happens if this breaks and, I want to make sure I get the 5 stars and all this kind of stuff. And so, people just have that anxiety all the time with them. Right. To the point to where they're just like, hey, if I see that little logo on my screen, that's a problem, right? And you just have a certain perspective on your whole day. So anyway, taking away that kind of anxiety and being a solution for them, and ultimately, with those types of companies, whether it's co-hosting or management, at the end of the day, hopefully you should be also getting value because one, now you're a part of a larger portfolio that can be leveraged to be able to potentially create more revenue. And more than likely, if that co-host or management company is doing the right thing, they also have way more streams to be able to create revenue for you on different platforms that you may not be able to do otherwise. Like you mentioned, Marriott Homes and Villas, things of that nature. Everybody can't get on that, right? So, I think that's huge. And then now something I'm hearing more of too, because we've been approached is want to do midterm rental management specifically for midterm rentals, right? Which is very different than I don't know if y'all want to get into that. Very different than being a long-term property manager, or even co-host or however you want to call that. Because you really have to have the network, the connections, and the pipeline to make that work and be profitable consistently. Because at the end of the day, especially for those that are trying to only do midterm, let's just say they're in an HOA that only allows 30 days or more, or complex or wherever else that may be, you can't fill in gaps with short-term rentals and Airbnb. So you have to have that pipeline. So one, calendar has to be set up properly. priced properly so that you can try to get as back to back as close as possible for those bookings. And or if you don't get back to back, make enough margin to where, hey, if I'm empty for 2 weeks, no problem. If I'm empty for 30 days, still no problem. And I'm still making rent and profit for those empty days. And that is the place where that people want to be in.
I'm happy you brought that up because we were talking earlier on the cast. That's what I was referring to. So this person wants me to manage their unit. But the thing they said was, I want you to manage the unit, but how she pitched it to the landlord, she told the landlord she was only going to do midterm rentals. So I was like, hold on, what do you mean by that? You only doing midterm rentals? Basically 30 days or more. I'm like, that's the point I brought up. I'm like, okay, hold on. You still need to, I said, if I manage it, I'm going to target the midterm. I'm going to set it up so we can get midterm because I like the midterm play anyway. But I'm like, if you want to manage it, if you can't get them back to back, you still need to have gaps where you can fill those gaps. And then that's kind of where I pitched my strategy. I'm like, I'll be honest with you, I don't like B2C sales. Like that's kind of why I'm getting away from like the OTAs because OTAs is B2C. That's all it is. So like there's because I define midterm rentals as a business to business transaction that's more than 30 days. So I said, I'll make those connections, but we still need to be on the OTAs just to be able to fill gaps and possibly get a longer term stay through there. And that's where I think a lot of people, it goes back to Fede always saying, you got to be educated. A lot of people aren't educated on it. They've heard somebody on YouTube say something and now they're just trying to implement it.
That's what I was saying at the beginning. My question is just joking that the Airbnb bros in Instagram and YouTube, they should say that, oh yeah, you just go tell them that you're going to do a corporate lease and you're going to target travel nurses and travel for professionals. And that's it. Mm-hmm. Right. And I actually follow a lot of people in Twitter on the real estate space that they start asking, hey, I have people reaching out to me about this. They're saying they want to do a lease under an LLC. And then people commenting, yeah, it's probably a short-term rental or Airbnb strategy, something like that. But that's exactly the problem. And then so people are not doing their due diligences. So they're getting into places that the HOA doesn't allow short-term rental. They don't know the market regulations. So they pitch it incorrectly. And then they up with a place that they cannot short-term rent.
Yeah. The funny thing about the gurus, and I brought it up on the show before, and Fede can vouch for it. Some of these gurus out there that have all these followers and all this, posts and everything, they'll hit us up to be their back channel management. What do they call it? Behind the scenes management company, because they want to stay on Instagram and YouTube or whatever and make all these videos, but they don't have time to actually manage a company. So I thought that's pretty funny. Of course, we were just one of many they've asked. I'm sure they asked probably 100 companies, just seeing the best rate they could get, whatever. But we've been interviewed by some of these gurus to be their behind the scenes management company while they go and make videos all day.
Man, the space is like everything where there's money to be made, where there's not a high barrier of entry, which is Airbnb. It was, I would say, like to compare to crypto a few months back, a year back. There's gonna be a lot of people, pitching and saying, yeah, you can do it super easy. So I like to find the space people are not BS. So I go to the Thrive, I go to Sean, I go to the Car Wells. I have a list of people that are no BS because there's a lot of BS in the space. And we can tell because we know how it works. But for people that are just getting started, some people are just paying thousands of dollars for a course. They're just telling this, reach out, say that it's a corporate lease for travel nurses. And they get screwed. I'll say there's a lot of free content out there. And then once you consume a lot of the free content, you can purchase more content for the people that you actually see that are giving away a lot of free stuff like the Thrive.
Yeah, for sure.
So, shout out to Shannon, my buddy from work that came and showed up. So how's Shreveport going, man?
Shreveport is good. Everything is rocking and rolling out there. I am trying to be more hands-on. I got my guests in there, 5 stars. I'm more personal with them. I text them. I ask them how they're doing. I don't just let the platform. Even though, everything is on a platform that's more important, that needs to be on a platform, but I'll send them that text message, let them know, if anything, that I can do or whatever. And they loving the place because we put a lot of money in that place, We're offering a good opportunity and for them to come down and they feel like they're at home, and they tell me that. They tell me that they're at home. They feel at home. They love the place. I mean, we worked like 2 months prior. We remodeled. We did everything. You know, it's my first, it's my baby, me and my wife's baby. You know, and we take a lot of pride. And because I got her, she's more in the she put the decoration part of it down, and I'm more of the, you know, get the business part side of it down. You know, but it all comes back to the fact is that you have to be that customer service. You know. You know, it doesn't take a lot to pick that phone up. You know, you can call them. You know, I don't know how many people are actually doing that, but you can call them, and I want them to come back. And they tell me in the reviews, they tell me we're gonna come back, and they leave raving reviews, and they shoot me that 5-star. You know, and right now, me being new, I'm like at 15 right now, 5-star reviews. I got guests in there, and I guess we're doing the right thing, you know. We're doing it. Even the lady even told me prior that she said her mother was graduated in Shreveport getting her PhD, you know, because she told me that, and I was already down at the property. I ran to the store, got that little teddy bear with the graduating cap and gown and with a card, and put it in the welcome basket. And when they came, oh man, you just don't know how much that they did for them, man. They gave me like 10 stars for that, you know? So it just, you know, it's that little extra that you can do to, for the customers. You know, at the end of the day, I know you can have some bad ones, but you know, sometimes you just gotta, you know, do what you gotta do to just maintain.
And I told you, because like when you told me that story about you putting the little teddy bear with the cap and gown and, you know, happy graduation and the card and all that. And it reminded me of back in when remember Fede, when we first started, we hear somebody's coming to town for an anniversary or birthday, and we'd put little things like that all the time. It just got too logistically hard to do with so many listings, so many turnovers. It was just, it was logistics.
And that's a good thing you bring up, because if you are, and this is another thing, what you just brought up is the problem with newer operators trying to get in. They don't take that type of hospitality at the very beginning because they've listened to something and they're trying to scale up really quick, but you haven't learned the basics. See, like that right there, when you're first starting, I tell people, go ahead and go to extra mile. And then you go to extra mile, they'll come back and you can build up those reviews and start building your business. I remember one time, this is at one of my timeshares, this happened. A lady came and then her mother passed. So we sent her roses, flowers, and then we sent them. And then she hit us up in the middle of the night when she finally got them. She was like, the front desk just told me to come get these roses. And I was like, who's it from? And they were like, the person who owns the timeshare. And then she said, oh man, thank you. And we still have her information till this day. And that was at the very beginning of our journey. And a lot of people don't start their business catering to it like that. And I'm glad you're doing that, because you know, a lot of people just don't, because they've heard on YouTube, just throw some furniture in there, they'll come book, boom, we're out. You know, but yeah, taking that hospitality is a huge thing. Very good way to start your business.
Yeah, we take a lot of pride in that. You know, like I said, it's just like our own personal home. You know, that's what we have like in Shreveport. You know, and I always told my wife, I was like, you know, if we didn't live in Denton, and we were ever to go to Shreveport, we would live in that house, you know, because it's we made it as something that we would want to be there and live there. And that's what we want the people that are coming there and staying in our property and stuff. We want them to experience that. And based on their reviews, that's what they're doing. They're experiencing that.
It's good. Because, go ahead. Yeah. It's really good that you did that, man. I'm happy you did that, and a lot of people they missed that hospitality piece. And you know, and what you bring up though, like Steve just said, you logistically couldn't do that anymore, right? That's where I think there's some holes in the short-term rental game that need to be filled. Like if we can't logistically send flowers. That's where I think there's so many. Steve talks about the picks and shovels all the time. There's so many picks and shovels that can still be that's set up around the short-term rental space that aren't there yet. Because if I have 20 units, I should be able to get a flower person sent out, baskets sent out. You know, I think that's a hole in the industry that needs to be there once you start scaling.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's very few housekeeping companies that can do some of those things as add-ons. Hint, for all the housekeeping companies that are out there, that's a value you can add to your business, right? If you can make it work logistically. So, but like Myka and Steve were saying, I mean, it goes a long way. I mean, just always ask yourself the question, how good is good enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is good enough just because the guest hasn't said anything about something particularly, or, is it clean enough because nobody said anything? Maybe not. So always have that in the back of your mind and, have that feedback loop, because a lot of people, as things happen, they brush it off and say, oh, it's just that person or whatever. But if you start to consistently see some of those things, maybe you should definitely do something about it, right? But another piece too is you mentioned about being able to hone in on those things that are particular, right? And that's something that some VAs, if you have a virtual assistant, have from training, whatever, but something that can be taught as well is to key in on those things. And that's the reason why, in addition to, making sure people aren't doing parties and stuff like that, this is the real reason why you ask, why are you coming to town?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you're trying to peel back the onion and really understand that person or that family that's coming there. And then you should be tailoring your hospitality approach to those individual guests or families. So if somebody says, hey, I'm coming in town because we have a funeral or whatever, your VA, or you should be saying, hey, sorry for your loss, so on and so forth. Let us know if there's anything we can do for you. Maybe you do send some flowers to them kind of thing for condolences or whatnot. But, people would say, oh, hey, all right, great. Thanks for booking, blah, blah, blah. See you soon. It's like, come on, man, really? And so.
And that's what
Can I mention two things?
No.
Because I'm very big on that. That's the main thing that I teach to my VAs. So on one side, we still send flowers or set up things when it's a very special occasion. It's just like, it depends on the property. Some properties, we cannot afford it for the rate that we have. But some properties, we do go the extra mile because we can afford it. So those are the properties we're getting rid of because they became a commodity, not an experience. But either way, with words, we still work on that part, which I call acknowledging the guest, acknowledging your customer. So I'm huge on that. My VAs, when they start with us, they go through a training process, and one day it's all about communication. We only go about communication and how to communicate. Remove the call center type of words like kindly let me know, those kind of things. Or thank you for your interest in my property. Don't put that at the beginning. They just want to hear the quick facts.
Hey, Fede just hit the nail on the head. He said, I don't have enough value to provide to the customer to give you that experience. Those are the units I'm getting rid of too. Those are the units I'm getting rid of. Because I can't. Now my big, like the place where the water heater went down, it's a bigger place, swimming pool, tennis court, all that's there. So I can send you stuff because you're paying 6-7 times market rent. So, and it's an experience for you. That is a good thing. See, and I think that's where like the arbitrage space, where a lot of the arbitrages started getting, a little overrun. Cause these people putting up these crappy 1-bed, 1-baths, with a futon up in there and they're ready to go. I'm serious. They put a futon in there. You're limited. You're capping yourself on the value you can provide. So if your margins are thin, how good of an experience can you really provide to someone? So yeah, I love that.
And that was the problem from starting a small hospital to business to then grow. And when you start chasing after a number of doors, you will get into the problem. Because we want to have 50, 100 units, and we keep grabbing doors, and then you end up with those situations, those type of properties. But now we're looking for experience. We're looking for a nice property. We're looking to that again. And just 2 days ago, we had a person Wi-Fi down one of our properties. Send a $25 refund on Airbnb and say, hey, listen, for the trouble, you can go to this is your favorite coffee in the area, go try the coffee, try this coffee. Super happy person.
Yeah.
And didn't even need the Wi-Fi, but it's just that gesture that makes a difference. But in that property, we can, those 3 new units that we have in that beautiful place, we can afford to do that and provide that type of value and customer service. So I think it's all a big thing that you need to look at, that and everything's connected.
Yeah.
Cool. Man, it's been a great show.
It's been a good episode, man. We ain't done a person to person in a long time. This is
we could actually fist right on there.
For the people who haven't watched this, watched this a long time ago, we used to always do them in person, man. So yeah, man.
It's cool, man. It's got a good vibe, and we got a great audience with us, participating audience with us, and it's so cool. Thank y'all for joining us. Thank y'all for continuing to listen to us.
Yeah.
And you can find us at liveletthrive.com, liveletthrive@gmail.com. Hit us up, ask us questions.
Yeah, hit us up. Definitely hit that subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, man. And thank y'all for continuing to listen. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. As you can see, we got content coming out daily now. So yeah, hit us up. And next time, hopefully, if you're in town, we might have another one of these in-person ones, and we'll hope to see you here.
All right, man. Peace.
We are out.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Live, Let, Thrive. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest in the world of Airbnb and all that entails. Bye-bye.